welcome back to Pro-Life Without Borders. It's Sarah and Mikayla. We really bummed you out the last 2 episodes.
And this one is not going to be any better.
Yeah, sorry. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. Anyway, so welcome to episode 11.
I love how you can keep track.
It's because I'm the one doing all the editing and publishing them and keeping track of all of it and
just the talking head.
Project management software.
Hey, I found the project management software. Janine gave it to us. But I'm friends with Janine, so that should count for something. I had the foresight to go to college with Janine and become friends with her, so that a decade later
was a golden tornado.
She absolutely was. Wow. Do you ever really go on from being a golden tornado?
No, it's with you for life, unfortunately.
For those of you who are wondering, Geneva's mascot is a tornado named Turbo. He's a golden tornado. Like, the golden is really important. Mm-hmm. Like, he's a golden tornado, and his name is Turbo.
Yeah.
And he comes to the football games. And he has gone through many iterations over the years.
Current Turbo is not it.
Turbo is not it. The Turbo of my day, which was, I started college in 2005 and graduated technically 8, but I walked in 2009. Turbo was rocking it.
That's how I think we had the same Turbo.
Mm-hmm. But the original Turbo looked like a piece of cheese.
Maybe. And then there was like the one from the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
That I don't even know how to...
Yeah, and then the current Turbo...
He struggled a lot.
We'll put
60s Turbo.
We'll put up some photos for those of you who are watching on YouTube. And those of you who aren't, you can look up Geneva College Turbo, and you will find him. He's a national treasure. He's at least a regional treasure. He's something.
And I have fond memories.
Turbo is fun. So anyway, yes, my friend Janine told us about the software that we're using. So I'm taking credit for that.
There you go.
Otherwise, I just talk on the podcast, and Mikayla does all the work.
Yes. So, what are we talking about today?
So today we're going to talk about the home abortion. And I realize that's not a fun topic. And we probably should have picked a lighter topic because we just talked about euthanasia for 2 weeks, and now we're talking about home abortion. But sorry, we're not. And we're going to talk a little bit about what is the home abortion. We're going to talk about how accessible it is. And we're going to talk about what you can do. And you may be thinking, oh, there's nothing I can do. Well, you're wrong. And there's stuff you can do. But we will also, because we don't want to depress you like super bad, we will share some stories from our international chat line, and we'll share some hope, because there is hope. There's always hope. Mm-hmm. Jesus is our hope, and God is our hope. And our faith is not in the things of this world. It's not in our president. It's not in our legislative leaders. It's not in our pregnancy center. It is in the Lord. And as long as we put our faith in the Lord and we keep our eyes fixed on Jesus, we have hope. And so that's our goal throughout this. So we are talking about difficult things. We are talking about heavy things because we want you to know, like, we want you to be aware, but we also want you to remember that our hope is in Christ. Our hope is not in the things of this world. Yeah. I think I did our Jesus moment.
Yeah.
A little bit. So before we jump into the home abortion issue, and I know we talked about this in a previous episode, but just a quick recap. We have been in the home abortion space since 2019. So 2017-ish, I brought the issue of home abortion to our board of directors. A friend of mine had really alerted me to it, and it was another executive director, and we were talking about, like, kind of what are we facing? You know, what's happening? What's going on in the United States? And it came up, and so I brought it to the board, and I was like, hey, I really think we need to address this. And so we launched our website at homeabortionfacts.com in 2019, mm-hmm. and I genuinely thought that we would soon be out of business. I was like, other people are going to pick this up, big pro-life organizations, national pro-life organizations, and we are going to be old news in 6 to 8 months. Yeah. Like, to the point where I actually felt bad for putting money into it. Because I was like, I just don't think, this is such an obvious issue, someone else is going to jump on it.
Right.
I was wrong. It is now 5 years later, almost. Yeah. Almost exactly 5 years later.
Almost exactly 5 years later.
And,
we continue to be the only pro-life website dedicated to the at-home abortion issue.
Yes. Now, are other places talking about it? Yes. But not, I do not think they are talking about it enough, honestly.
And they're not always talking about it well.
No. And we're going to talk a little bit about that today. But there's a lot of assumptions that we make about abortion in the United States that we need to stop making.
And we we come into this conversation with 5 years of experience working on the chat line.
Yes.
And so it is not just us like spouting like our opinions on things, which we do like sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, it happens.
But these are actually informed opinions because out of that website, like that website launching is what ultimately ended up starting the international ministry.
Yes. So
and like how that happened, we've talked about it before on the podcast, and you know, it's not relevant to what we're talking about right now. The point is that we have this chat line. Most of the clients, actually, I can comfortably say all of the clients on the chat line that are seeking abortions are doing so through at-home abortions.
Yep.
And 5 years later, and 25,000 clients later, roughly.
82 countries.
82, 83. I've lost track of how many countries.
I think we just added Belgium.
We did.
I think Belgium might have been 83.
Yeah. I think that we can confidently say we've handled a fair amount of at-home abortions.
And we don't know everything, but we are able to offer some practical tips and advice to people who are concerned about this, and we know what happens when a nation has unchecked home abortions, because that's what we're seeing in some of these. So in a lot of the nations that we work in, specifically in African nations, a home abortion is illegal. Sometimes all abortion is illegal. I think South Africa is like one of the few exceptions. Botswana is one of the few exceptions to abortion even being legal. Like it's legal there, but most places it's not. But just the devastation that is this unchecked home abortion is insane. And like, you can't even walk down if you are in South Africa, you're going to see just signs advertising home abortions.
Yeah, and I'd also like to point out that it's just as devastating in the countries that do have abortion access.
Yes,
because that's one of the arguments, right? Is, well, if you just made it legal, you'd be safe. And it's not.
No.
And we've talked with clients in France, and France has the most liberal abortion laws in Europe, and they actually just this year codified it into their constitution. It is a constitutional right to receive an abortion like late.
Yes.
Late.
Covered by the French government.
And guess what? Home abortion, still devastating.
Yes. Still happening. And the other thing we have to remember is we don't make things legal just to make them safe.
Right.
Spousal abuse would be safer if it was legal. If you could go to a special spousal abuse place and beat the crap out of your wife, then she could receive medical care right away. Wouldn't that be safer?
Yeah.
Does that sound crazy to you?
Because
it should.
No, it's like, this is a level of
it is. It is. It's wrong. And nobody would say, oh, we should make spousal abuse safe so women don't get hurt, they don't break bones, you know. We would never say that. So we shouldn't be saying it about abortion. And so that's the caveat here, right? Okay, we are pro-lifers. This podcast is called Pro-Life Without Borders. All right, so if you can read, you understand we're pro-life. But even if you are not pro-life, you should be concerned about the home abortion issue.
Yes.
And making abortion legal is not the answer.
No, because it doesn't make it safe.
No.
And there's no safe way to have an at-home abortion. And marketing, if you're on the internet, you have likely seen some sort of advertisement regarding safe abortions at home. And in fact, a lot of the clients that reach out to us on the chat line, that's what they're asking for. How can I do a safe abortion at home?
Yeah.
And the first thing we have to tell them is, well, what you're asking for is non-existent. Right. There is no such thing as a safe abortion, period.
Right.
But there's definitely no such thing as a safe home abortion.
Right. And we're talking about a continuum of danger.
Yes.
So all abortions are wrong, and all abortions carry an element of risk.
Yes.
A home abortion is going to carry a greater element of risk. I would say it is not more wrong, but it is going to be riskier, and that's okay to acknowledge that home abortions are riskier. And we can talk about that. So the first thing we want to talk about is, what is a home abortion and what is it not? So the most common thing I hear when I talk to someone in like the wild, you know, I'm at a church, I don't know, Giant Eagle. That's a grocery store if you don't live near here. And honestly, I talk about crazy things to people that I barely know. So it's actually not weird that I would be having this conversation in the grocery store. But it is not the morning after pill. So this is probably the biggest misconception. So I'll say something
about Plan B.
No. I will say something like, oh my goodness, yeah, we're working against home abortions. And then someone will come back with, yeah, I heard you can buy that at Walgreens. So what they are typically talking about is I'm going to pronounce it wrong. Levonorgestrel. It starts with an L.
Yeah.
We're going to spell it for you. Anyway, and that's what's called emergency contraception. So you can buy emergency contraception at your local pharmacy. You can buy it at Walmart. You can buy it in a vending machine.
Amazon.
You can get it from anywhere. And it's about $50 a pop.
Yeah. Per pill.
And you get this, it's basically like a mega dose of birth control. This is like Sarah's layman terms. And it's supposed to prevent you from ovulating. So if you have unprotected sex or the condom breaks or something, you can take the morning after pill and you're not supposed to get pregnant. So that is problematic for a lot of reasons. First of all, it can prevent a fertilized egg from implanting, which we would consider to be an extremely early abortion. But it is not considered an abortion. And it's not considered a home abortion. And it's not going to act like a home abortion. Now, if you took 10 of them, could you induce a home abortion? Maybe. But also, why would you spend $500 on Plan B?
Yeah, because as we're going to talk about, you can get abortion pills for way cheaper.
Yes. So then the next big misconception is that home abortions are happening, but only with the oversight of a doctor. Mm-hmm. Whether it's through telemed or through an in-person appointment or whatever. And so when we talk about home abortion, there's two methods. There's the pills, which is what most people are using. It's 2 pills. There's mifepristone and misoprostol. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes they're just using misoprostol. Sometimes they're using both. It can change. It can vary depending on where you're getting it. Right. Mifepristone prevents nutrition from getting to the baby. Misoprostol causes contractions and causes you to essentially deliver. So miscarriage. Would be like the sort of layman's term. It's not a miscarriage because you're doing it on purpose, but it causes your body to go through that. And then the other types would be sort of like the miscellaneous types where people are using herbs or essentially
the kind of DIY manual methods.
Mm-hmm.
This is where like the coat hanger.
Yeah, the crochet needles.
Yeah.
Like crochet hooks, I guess. But yeah, so like, and I'm sorry, we're not trying to be graphic. It's just kind of what it is.
Abortion is graphic.
Abortion is graphic. So there's 2 options there. There's like the manual method or there's pills. And most women in this day and age are looking at pills. Although I will say there's a rise in women seeking herbal alternatives, which is very scary. Because some of the methods that are used for a home abortion with herbs can be fatal.
Yes.
And you cannot tell me that the average American or even the above average American has the ability to brew a tea and know how much herb they're getting.
Yeah.
Like that's just too, like, there's no way. And some of the plants that are supposed to cause abortions look very, very similar to plants that cause death.
Yes.
And I'm not going to mention which ones because I don't want to use this as an abortion services resource. But yeah, it's very ugly. It's very bad. So people are like, oh, no, that's not happening. People can go to clinics or they're doing telemed or they're doing whatever. And the reality is...
No, they're not.
They're not. Some are.
Yeah, some are.
But there's a lot of people who are doing the sort of illegal online abortion.
Yeah. So, I'm going to try not to be mad because
I feel like we had lunch and we were mad this morning and then we ate lunch. Now we're going to get mad again.
Yeah. So the online abortion, so we've established, okay, what at-home abortion is. We know at-home abortions are wrong because all abortions are wrong.
Right.
And then there's going to be people who say, well, I live in blank red state and they can't access abortion because we've made abortion illegal after 6 weeks or whatever. Which is good.
It is good.
We love heartbeat laws. We love pro-life states. We love red states. But you are sticking your head in the sand if you think that abortions aren't happening just because you outlawed them.
Right.
And so they're getting around these abortion restrictions by ordering pills online. And this is not, in the context that we're talking about, we are not talking about they're having a virtual appointment with their doctor and getting it, right? Because I love telemedicine.
Me too.
I have no idea what my doctor's office looks like. I don't know where my doctor is.
I don't know how tall my doctor is. This is all I see right
it's
here.
Great. And I just call, and sometimes I don't even have to call. I just message, and I'm like, I have a cold, and my snot is green. And they're like, yeah, like, we're just going to send in a prescription for, antibiotic or whatever. Yeah. It's great. Love modern medicine. and I love telemedicine. That is not what we are talking about. Telemedicine abortions are also problematic.
Yes.
But we are talking about people who are going online and are obtaining abortion pills without ever having any sort of real conversation with a licensed medical doctor.
Or having their information reviewed
by a licensed medical doctor.
There is no licensing. There is no medical.
And so this is a shock to a lot of people. Even in pregnancy help, like this is not something that we have fully wrapped our heads around. And we'll insert a video clip, hopefully, of obtaining abortion pills online.
And before you email me and you're like, oh my goodness, Sarah, I can't believe you put that in your YouTube video. Now people are going to know how to do it. Trust me, it is easy as pie.
No, we're talking less than 5 minutes.
Yes, and I would encourage you, unless you're driving, in which case you should not, because texting and driving or being on your phone and driving is bad. Go into your phone and just put in, where can I buy a home abortion? And the first website, you could buy it for $30.
Yeah.
And it'll be shipped to you in 5 to 7 days.
Yeah. Faster if you're willing to pay more.
Yeah.
But the reality is that they are accessible. And it's not just one website. No. There's countless.
I would say almost uncountable
number of
if you're
websites.
If you look at it internationally.
Yes.
Because there's obviously English speaking websites that we would access here, but then there's going to be websites and Facebook groups and WhatsApp numbers in every country in the world.
Yes. And so there's tons of them. So they're incredibly accessible. There are basically hardly any restrictions. It's easy.
Well, and it's easy to lie.
It's easy to lie.
If the website's going to ask you how old you are.
Because no one is fact checking.
No.
So here's an example. We know that abortion pills were not intended to be used past 11 weeks. Not that they should ever be used, but we know that they were intended for 11 weeks and under.
Yep.
And some places will actually state that, right? Like if you're trying to buy abortion pills, it'll say like not intended for use past 11 weeks. We've moved beyond that. Some people just don't care anymore. And they're
you can select that you are after 11 weeks.
So yeah, and you can still get them. But women, all you have to do is say, oh yeah, I'm 10 weeks. And they're not fact checking. They're not asking for ultrasounds. Most of they're not asking for even something as basic as when was your last period.
They're not asking for your ID. They're not asking to prove that you're over 18.
Nope.
They're not asking to prove that you're the one that's going to take the pills. Because I could go online and order a box of 50 and sell them to whoever I want, or give them out to whoever I want, or somebody could give them to someone who doesn't know that they're taking them.
Yep. So they're accessible because a lot of people are selling them and there's no restrictions. You could be not pregnant. In fact, a lot of people are marketing them to people to buy them now before you're even pregnant, just in case.
Just in case. They call them missed periods.
Yes.
So you just take it in case you missed your period. You don't even have to know. And in fact, one of the sites I was looking at this morning, it listed the pregnancy test as optional.
Yes.
So maybe they're saying, oh, maybe you just know you're pregnant.
Yeah.
And we have seen on the chat line, we have seen young women who are devastated because they believe they've had an abortion. And we're talking to them and we're like, okay, obviously we can't be 100% sure, but I don't think you were pregnant.
Yeah.
So they think, so basically they took, well, sometimes we know they're not pregnant. There's a rumor in
unnamed countries,
but I would say mostly Africa. Yeah. We see it, that pineapple causes abortions, which is weirdly, there is a little bit of truth to it in that if you take...
The reality is that if you eat or consume enough of just about anything, it's going to not be good.
Yeah, but like you would have to eat so much pineapple that your esophagus would like burn.
Yeah.
Before it would cause an abortion. Like it would be like an unholy amount, like an impossible amount of pineapple. Like you can have pineapple if you're pregnant. I ate tons of pineapple and I have 400 children. So it's a rumor. But they believe it. And so I was talking to a young woman, actually more than one, this has happened more than once, who's devastated because she believes that she has had an abortion. Right. So I'm like, tell me more. Because we've learned over the course of 5 years that you need to ask good questions because
do not assume.
You can't assume that you understand what they mean. And so she says, well, I thought I was pregnant and I ate pineapple and then I started bleeding. She did not have an abortion. In fact, she was never pregnant. She's very young. Most of the time, they're very young. They heard this rumor that pineapple causes abortions. So she ate a bunch of pineapple, got a stomach ache because she ate a bunch of pineapple, and then got her period.
Yeah.
And so I'm talking to this young woman. I'm like, well, good news. You don't have to be sad because you did not have an abortion.
Right.
But can you imagine how many women are out there walking around wondering, did I actually have an abortion or did I just start my period?
Yeah. And I mean, and they're not even wondering. Sometimes they're walking around with the guilt of having an abortion.
Oh, yeah.
And we know, because I'm sure there are people out there who are going to try to tell us that women don't feel guilty for having an abortion. And you're wrong.
You are wrong.
You are 100% wrong. And feel free to reach out to Mikayla at promiseoflifenetwork.org. And I will be more than happy.
You're giving them your direct email. You're not even saying podcast.
No. You email me personally and I'll take screenshots and I'll send you the screenshots, because I actually have a folder that I keep of women talking about their abortion experience. And guess what? They feel guilty.
Not to mention the women that we have on staff who are decades past their abortion and they still struggle with guilt and grief and regret.
Yeah.
Because you don't get over it.
No.
And there are women who are not pro-life who will say, I really think abortion was the best choice for me, but I still think about it every day.
Yeah.
Like, that's devastating. Nobody should make a decision that affects them that deeply, especially when there were options.
Yes.
But we digress. Anyway, so this is the shock, right? This is the piece that people don't understand. And it's happening. Okay, your daughter, your granddaughter, your best friend's child, your children's schoolmates can go online. They can order abortion pills for a pretty small amount of money. I'm talking $30 to $50, and they can have them shipped directly to their house. And honestly, there's not a lot that we can do from a legal perspective. And by we, I mean the government.
Right, because there's one. A lot of these pills are not originating in the United States.
Right. Although I'm currently in discussions with the pharmacy that may think that I want an abortion.
Yes. So we know some of them do. And we know the pharmacies that have questionable practices, and we're fairly certain are pushing abortion pills online without any sort of prescription. But a lot of these pills aren't originating in the United States, which poses like a legal problem, because prosecuting...
How can you prosecute someone who's not in the United States?
Yeah, like prosecuting just India as a country is like complicated.
Like what's the plan here? Like, are we going to march over to the United Kingdom and be like, by golly, we don't like this?
Right.
Plus, we would have to have the desire to do that, and our current administration
and the funds. Yeah, no administration is really going to take that on.
Right? Because how do you even? It's like whack-a-mole. Because if you actually did manage,
they'll just make it
to sail over to India and shut down a pharmacy, 3 more are going to follow it. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just impossible.
Yeah.
So that can feel very frustrating, because the first thing that people usually ask is, isn't this illegal? Okay, yes.
Yeah.
It is. But people do illegal things all the time.
Well, and we're also talking about the FDA here.
Yeah.
And not to be that person, but like the FDA isn't necessarily like a shining example of upstanding citizenry.
That's a great way to put it. That is a great way to put it.
And you can feel, and I think both sides, like...
And I feel like generally you're more pro-FDA than most people I know.
Yeah, I was like, there are multiple caveats to the FDA, and I appreciate some of the work they've done, but the reality is they're unreliable. Regardless of like whatever opinion you have about anything, the FDA has somehow managed to like go beyond it. So you can be super crunchy and be skeptical of the FDA, and you could be super pro-vaccine and be frustrated with the FDA.
Right. Like, they are equal opportunity. Like, if you need a federal institution to pick on,
the FDA makes it so easy.
So it's them and the IRS, and nobody wants to make the IRS.
No, please don't. I love the IRS. I love paying taxes. I love it so much. Please leave me alone. I'm
seriously, but the FDA, like, everyone has issues with them.
Everyone, literally everyone. It is the unifying factor of Americanhood.
God bless America.
Like, everyone hates the FDA.
But they are not, necessarily the most great at restricting abortion access anyway, and so expecting them to prosecute or to go after these illegal companies outside of the country is kind of not gonna.
Well, no, because the FDA is over here taking away the black box label.
Yep.
During the pandemic, that's something that they did, was they there was restrictions on abortion pills because even the FDA was like, yo, this is kind of dangerous. And then the pandemic happened and they're like, yeah. So like the FDA isn't
That's exactly the same.
like that's exactly how much thought went into it. And so the FDA is not interested in reducing abortion pills. And we have statements that the FDA has sent some of these online pharmacies.
Yeah, they did try. I mean, in their defense.
But honestly, I think it's just because the FDA was losing money because these other pharmacies were selling them cheaper.
I don't think the FDA actually sells them.
I don't know.
I don't know how that works. Anyway, so you can't really depend on them. But that being said, legislation against abortion is still good. We still want states to outlaw abortion. We still want the U.S. government to say you can't send your abortion pills here because we can put international pressure on people. The United States is a powerful nation, and I would be very supportive of any administration that said we don't want these dangerous home abortion pills in our nation, and we need to get them out.
Yeah.
The other thing to consider, to realize, is that the websites promoting the home abortion are often well-known pro-choice organizations.
Yes.
And I would say we meaning like the law, can certainly say, okay, this is absolutely false advertising. Because they're advertising them as safe and this self-managed abortion, and it's natural and it's beautiful and it's empowering. And I don't know why we couldn't just say, okay, that's false advertising. You can't say that. Like, not to restrict free speech, because obviously this is America, and that's one of the beautiful things about America. But to say, like, you can't make false statements.
No, we have laws against false advertising.
Right.
In fact, we have more laws against false advertising than we do for abortion.
Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy. So so if you're going to be a large, I hate to say the word reputable because I don't necessarily think it, but I know that regular people,
popular, maybe
well-known pro-choice organization.
Household name.
Yes, a household name kind of. You guys are you picking up what we're laying down? If those kinds of organizations are going to promote the self-managed abortion, the at-home abortion, then they should be called out on that and be told, like, no, you can't tell people this is safe because it's not safe.
Yeah, be honest.
Yes, be honest. The other thing that we need to do, and this is perhaps the biggest thing that we need to do, is we need to change our culture.
Yeah.
And that's a big task, but it is very much within our grasp. I can't tell you how many Christians I have talked to who aren't sure what they think about abortion. Or they don't want to say anything because they don't want to offend people. Or they're personally pro-life, but they can't tell someone else what to do. Christians, sisters and brothers, I'm talking to you right now. We have got to make a stand and say that abortion is always wrong. At home, DIY, surgical, first, second, third trimester, always wrong, 100%. Hold the line.
There's, and I'm sure you know this, but there's like the movement by pro-choice people they don't call us pro-lifers anymore, and we're also not pro-birthers.
Oh wait, they got rid of that?
You know what we are now?
What are we?
We're anti-abortionists. I love it.
I'm like, darn with that.
Darn straight we're anti-abortion.
You can take that to the bank.
No, and I actually had a conversation with
I like that much better than pro-birth.
I know. I was like, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. No, I had a conversation with students in the spring. So like random Mikayla lore, I taught at a university.
I literally share random stories every time, so this is your turn.
Like I taught at a university full-time tenure track in the past spring.
Just for you.
Just for funds. But anyway, and so I started the pro-life club there. And we had like this whole group of students who are fantastic and they're running with it. Like they didn't need me. They never needed me. But I told them like there is a difference between being pro-life. Like it's not enough to be pro-life. You also have to be anti-abortion.
Yes.
And that's what we need to be. Like you might be pro-life and that's great. And we love that for you. But like you have to speak out against abortion.
Yes.
You can't just sit around in your living room and be pro-life at home.
No.
And feel warm and fuzzy about yourself sitting on the couch.
And the thing is, we have to because it's the greatest cultural issue of our time.
Yeah.
Like, if you were an abolitionist in the 1850s, it would be wrong for you to be a quiet abolitionist. Because people were dying and families were being ripped apart and people were being literally stolen from their homelands and dragged across the sea under horrible conditions and sold like animals. And it would be immoral for you to say, well, I'm an abolitionist. I wouldn't own a slave, but I wouldn't tell someone else what they should do.
Right.
And to sit at home and say that about abortion is equally wrong.
No, because reality is people are dying.
Yes.
People are being ripped apart.
Yes.
In the womb.
Mothers are suffering.
Mothers are suffering. Mothers are dying, but no one wants to talk about that.
Fathers are suffering. Grandparents are suffering. Our entire community suffers. It's like a ripple effect. If you throw a rock into a lake, you're going to have ripples go out for quite a while.
Yeah.
Even after you can't really see them anymore, it's still there. And that's what abortion is. So the people right there where the rock hit the lake, they're going to be the most impacted. But then it ripples out and it ripples out and it ripples out and it ripples out. And it goes so far, I don't think we even know how badly impacted we are by abortion because we're so used to it.
Well, and I think it might take decades.
Yes.
And I think, currently we're dealing with the impact that abortion had in the 70s and 80s, right? Especially when we have like post-abortive healing. A lot of times it's women who had abortions decades ago.
Yes.
And we're only just now learning about the impact that those abortions had. And those were surgical abortions happening under the care of a physician in a clinic, under, Roe v. Wade,
right.
when Roe v. Wade was the law of the land. It'll be a while, I think, before we fully understand the impact that these abortions are happening at home, unsupervised. These women are suffering alone, in a country where Dobbs now is the law of the land.
Right.
We're not going to know. And that doesn't mean that those impacts are not worth considering now. Because I also think it's very easy to be like, well, this is 50 years from now problem. Like, this is the next, another generation's
This
problems.
is also our problem. Because we have leftover problems from the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. And now we have our current
millennials.
problems.
I was about to say millennials, like you and I, are dealing with problems that our Gen X boomer parents left.
Right.
Millennials' children will have to deal with the ramifications of decisions made today.
Yep.
Assuming there are any children left, because we seem intent on killing them all.
Right. And the thing is, you might be thinking, okay, I'm one person. What can I do? Okay, you can educate your children. You can talk at your church. You can be a place of support for people in your sphere who may be at risk of an unplanned pregnancy, whether it's your kids or their friends or your family, your extended family. And the thing is, when our staff is sitting across from a woman who's considering an abortion, and we don't get to talk to all of them, but we get to talk to some of them. And I say, do you have one person in your life who will support you with this baby? And y'all, it could be their Sunday school teacher. It could be their grandma. It could be their mom's best friend. It's not always a parent. In fact, it's often not a parent because they're very afraid to tell their parents. Now, sometimes their parents are fine with it, and that's great. But in that moment, they're afraid to tell their parent. And so they're trying to think of someone in their life who has verbalized to them, baby, I love you no matter what. And if you got pregnant, I want you to come to me. You can be that person. You can donate to your pregnancy center. If you're local to us, that's us. If you're local to a different pregnancy center, that's them. Or you could donate to Promise of Life and we'll use it for our international efforts. Or you could donate to another national pro-life organization. There's tons of them. One of the things we talked about the last 2 weeks is this Courageously Pro-Life. You can purchase this at courageouslyprolife.com and you can use it at your church to talk about what does it mean to be a pro-life Christian? What is the history of abortion?
Mm-hmm.
What is eugenics? What is euthanasia?
Mm-hmm.
What is apologetics and how do we engage in that?
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of stuff that we can do to change our culture and it's going to happen one person at a time. And legislation should be part of that, but it can't be the only thing that we do.
Yeah. So just to recap, at-home abortions are abortions that happen at home, unsupervised by any sort of medical professionals. Sometimes it's pills. Most of the time it's pills.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's herbs. It's DIY method. I mean, and maybe someday we'll just have a podcast episode sharing like all of the absolute bizarre methods of abortion that we've heard from the chat line.
Some of them don't work.
A lot of them don't work.
Most of them don't work.
But we've had clients try it all. And so that's what an at-home abortion is. There's no medical oversight. There's no doctor explaining what to do next or checking in with them or follow-up appointments. These abortion pills are rampant
Mhm.
online. You do not.
They're also beginning to be available at pharmacies. So I know I
Yes.
said earlier, like, oh, people think it's Plan B that you can get off the shelf. You can't get them off the shelf at pharmacies yet, but you can fill a prescription.
Yes.
Which is not great.
But you don't need a prescription, really, if you get them online.
If you get them online, you don't even need a prescription.
Because you just fill out this little form. Honestly, most of them are Google forms, which is just like baffling to me. They're like, you fill out this jot form,
Yeah,
and we'll send you abortion pills.
Or it's just like, how many weeks are you and what's your credit? It's normally they just want your credit card.
Right. And so it's incredibly easy to access these pills. And if you don't think that's the case, and we've had people who genuinely...
We have had people who are watching me do it, and they don't believe that it's real. And I think it's honestly because it's so awful that our mind is like preventing us from accepting it as real.
No, because it's traumatizing.
Yes.
Even like if you're not the person having an abortion, just going through, and you've done it and I've done it, like filling out these forms to get abortion pills.
Don't put your credit card in.
Yeah, because
first of all, you don't want to give them money. Second of all, that's not good.
Yeah, most of the time it's not reputable. Well, it's never reputable.
It's never reputable, but also you don't want to find out that your card's being used by Apple products in Georgia.
Wisconsin. But yeah.
And that's not because she used it on us. Anyway, you don't want that.
You don't want that.
Nobody wants that.
So don't be me. And, but no, like, it's so easy.
Yeah.
And if you don't believe us, because people don't.
They don't.
We'll put the link in the description. Just go do it yourself.
Just Google it.
Like, just Google it.
Like, if you really... Or DuckDuckGo. DuckDuckGo.
Yeah,
DuckDuckGo. But use your search engine of choice and see how easy it is. And honestly, if I can do it, I'm old, y'all. I'm 30, almost 37.
I'm not putting my age out there. But I'm
I
old enough that, like, teenagers are starting to be like, okay, grandma.
I have a son who's about to turn 15, so I don't want to be much younger than 37. I'm 36 right now. But if I can do it, with my elderly abilities to use technology, anyone can do it. And if I can do it, your granddaughters can do it, your daughters can do it, your daughter's friends can do it. And they need to know that there's someone in their life that wants them to choose life if they end up in that situation.
Yes. So, but it is something that's happening. And I know it's easy to just think like it's not happening. You guys are blowing it out of proportion because you're really passionate about it and you're sensitive to it and blah, blah, blah.
It's happening.
I don't know what else to tell you other than it's happening and it's easy. If I wanted to, before we even wrapped this podcast up, and quite frankly, because I am a millennial, and I'm not that old, I could order abortion pills in the time it takes this podcast outro to play. I could order abortion pills.
Well, I don't know. It depends on how fast you
It depends on how fast the office Wi-Fi is working, if we're being honest. But like I would know exactly where to go, and it would take no time at all.
Yeah.
And I'm not special.
But the good news is that it is fixable.
Yes.
We can turn back to the Lord. We can we can pray. We can intervene. We can donate. We can support organizations that are fighting this. And we can encourage those around us to make good choices. And that's how we change culture. That's how we change our world. And those things, we can vote. We can support legislation that's positive, that does outlaw abortion. And we can be part of all good things. And we can bring those good things about. And it works. We have had, and we can share the story, and then Mikayla can, when she edits, because I don't do that, can throw it, up on the screen. But we have babies saved all the time on the chat line, and
pretty much daily.
Pretty much daily, locally or internationally, someone is choosing life for their baby, and they're coming back and they're telling us, "I love my baby. I'm so happy I found you," and they're showing us their cute, precious little one. And a lot of these individuals initially considered, or actively looked for a home abortion. And what we are that one person standing in the gap. And it's not just us, it's pregnancy centers across the nation, pregnancy centers across the world, churches, youth leaders, teachers, parents. Every single one of us is standing in the gap. And that can be you. And it makes a difference.
It does.
So don't be discouraged. Next week we will try to pick a happier topic because I feel like it's been 3 heavy episodes in a row, and that's kind of mean. So we'll try to pick something a little bit more peppy next week. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please share this episode more than others. Okay, I realize I say that every time, but more than other episodes, share this episode with someone. Let them know that this is happening, and let them know what they can do to be part of building a culture of life.
Okay, buying abortion pills online. We're just going to Google abortion pills online. We've already got a couple of options here for us. Of course, Planned Parenthood is right at the top, but we all know that we don't trust the first thing that Google tells us. So we'll go here with Plan C, abortion pills by mail in every state. Now, we know that there are some states that have restricted abortion pill access, and Texas is one of them. So let's find pills in Texas, where people get abortion pills online in Texas. Abortion access in Texas is restricted, but abortion pills are still available by mail from providers outside of Texas. Options below. Perfect. It gives us a couple of options. We could get it from an online clinic, but that's $150. But the FDA approved those medications. I like the idea of websites that sell pills without consulting a clinician. $30 and up, 3 to 9 days, generic medications from India. And there's a potential legal risk. Sounds good to me. So here we are. Here's some of the options. Let's just go with the first one, $30 to $50. That's within my budget. 3 to 6 business days. It says it's good for all ages. I can get pills in advance, which means that I don't have to be pregnant to buy these pills. I can just order them just in case something happens in the future. There's potential legal risk, but I'm just going to request the pills anyway. And here we are, abortion pills. Lucky me, they're on sale. So, it used to be $40, now it's $30 for a standard kit. This kit, it says that it includes an extra miso pack. So what they are saying is that it includes an extra pack of misoprostol. Misoprostol is used to induce uterine contractions. Typically, the abortion pill is marketed as being for 11 weeks and under, but if you are late term, they recommend just taking more abortion pills to make it happen. So if perhaps you're over 11 weeks, just buy more pills. Now, the interesting thing is that there's really nothing on here that's preventing me from adding to cart 9 packs of this, or 10 packs rather. So I could buy 10 packs of abortion pills with extra misoprostol. Now, of course, that's $550. That's a little out of my budget. I just need one. So, we'll add to cart $55, checkout, and this is including extra miso, so if I need it down the line, that's fine. And here we are, billing details and a place order button. Without ever having consulted a physician, without ever having an ultrasound, without ever having a pregnancy test, no one checking how old I am, nothing. Regular shipping is 5 to 7 days. I'm not in a hurry, but if I wanted it tomorrow, they could overnight it to me. Of course, I'd have to pay for that. Closed on Sundays. We've got some Chick-fil-A priorities here. So this is less than 5 minutes, and this is me talking you through it. If it was just me by myself, I've done this process in under a minute. So abortion pills are very accessible online, less than 5 minutes.